Now, a Jimmy Mathis exclusive, The Stone Zone, featuring Roger Stone, veteran of 30 years in politics and 9 presidential campaigns, including Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, and Donald Trump. Here is Jimmy Mathis on WBAL News Radio 1090 and the WBAL app.
How you're feeling about your chief strategist, Mr. Bannon? Can you talk about that?
I would echo Maggie's question. Steve Bannon is...
I never spoke to Mr. Bannon about it.
Tell us broadly what your... Do you still have confidence in Steve?
Well, let's see. Look. I like Mr. Bannon. He's a friend of mine. But Mr. Bannon came on very late. You know that. I went through 17 senators, governors, and I won all the primaries. Mr. Bannon came on very much later than that. And I like him. He's a good man. He is not a racist. I can tell you that. He's a good person. He actually gets a very unfair press in that regard. But we'll see what happens with Mr. Bannon, but he's a good person, and I think the press treats him, frankly, very unfairly.
President Donald Trump earlier in the week. Right now we are joined by Roger Stone, former Donald Trump top advisor. You can hear Mr. Stone normally every Saturday at 11:15 for the Stone Zone here on the Jimmy Mathis Show. Good morning, Roger. How you doing? Sorry. Good morning, Roger. How you doing?
Excellent.
You have defended Steve Bannon in the past. You have defended him against these charges of racism and anti-Semitism. You wrote a piece in the Daily Caller earlier in the week. Obviously, the writing was sort of on the wall on this. What does this mean for Donald Trump moving forward, do you think? And was it smart for him to part ways with Steve Bannon?
Well, I don't think it has a major impact on the Trump administration or the direction of the administration, because that's set by Donald Trump himself, just as the campaign themes and strategy were set by Trump himself. Now, I like Bannon, but in all fairness, the key themes, whether they're immigration or trade or need to overhaul the Veterans Administration or make our NATO partners pay their fair share, these themes were all set well in advance, well over a year before Mr. Bannon joined the campaign. The president's right about that. At the same time, I'm not a fan of the globalist faction within the White House that's represented by General McMaster and perhaps General Kelly and others. I am among those who says let Trump be Trump. Trying to understand the firestorm of this week, Charlottesville and so on, I really come to the conclusion that perhaps the reason we've had a backlash, perhaps the reason there has been the negative reaction to the president's comments is because the mainstream media has not covered the Antifa or Black Lives Matter inspired violence the way they've covered appeared to be white supremacists rioting in Charlottesville. And therefore, when the president says those on the left and the right who espouse violence are wrong, people say, well, what people on the left? Because they haven't seen it, largely because CNN and others have not shown them what's going on. Now, if you're on the Internet, you couldn't possibly not know about the violence on the left. But I don't know that it's carried over.
Or if you live in cities like Baltimore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, for a dozen reporters texted me this week and said, is this going to hurt the president? No, and honestly, I do not think it will. If the Democrats want to focus on race and the president focuses on economic prosperity for all Americans, I think he will come out on top.
Okay, but here's the problem, Roger, at least from where I'm viewing this from. The game plan right now from the left, and I'm going to throw the media in that category, is to get Republicans to break from the president. And they have been doing that over the last week. So the strategy is working at some level.
Yes, although I would argue that those who have broken with them are the people who weren't for him to begin with, who have been undercutting him both in their votes in the Congress and in their public comments. But you're right. They are interested in their own reelection. And they are not interested in engendering the ire of the mainstream media. They're not fighters. Moderate Republicans prefer cocktail parties to caucuses.
Right. An interesting piece in a town hall is Trump now leading a Democratic White House. You look at all the people he has ousted out of the White House. Is he leading a Democratic White House right now?
Well, if he is, it would be Steve Bannon's fault, since he didn't help anybody who was a Trump supporter get into the White House. kind of reminds me of the kid who kills his parents and then argues to the court that he should be treated mercifully because he's an orphan.
Right.
It is true that there are not many Trump people in the White House, but that's because Steve Bannon would not help any of them get inside. Good men and women who had extensive experience, both in the campaign and in government, who could have helped this administration, couldn't get the time of day from Mr. Bannon. I think Bannon did a great job for Bannon. I'm not sure he did such a great job for Donald Trump.
You look at remarks from Steve Bannon yesterday in the Weekly Standard, and I guess, the old saying, keep your friends close, your enemies closer. Is Bannon right now, he's going back to Breitbart, is that going to be an asset or a liability for Donald Trump?
Actually, it's going to be an asset. I think that Steve will be more effective as a firebrand from the outside, trying to keep the administration to stick to its basic platform planks and its overall vision. He did not prove to be very effective on the inside. I list is a piece I wrote for the Daily Caller the day before yesterday. When Sheriff Joe Arpaio called Steve Bannon wouldn't call him back. The president had no idea that Arpaio was on trial, never mind been convicted in a bogus case where the prosecution was brought under the wrong statute to make sure he couldn't get a jury trial. The Obama administration was intercepting and monitoring his communications with his own attorneys during the trial. That's highly illegal, unconstitutional, in fact. They also were communicating directly to the judge. But Donald Trump didn't know any of these things because Mr. Bannon never told him. Likewise, the president didn't know that General McMaster had given Susan Rice a pass on her political espionage, or that McMaster had extended Rice's national security clearance, again, because Steve Bannon never told him.
Roger, talking about your piece from the Daily Caller, Bannon's time is up. You write, there is no Karl Rove in Trump world. Trump is his own man. Bush had Karl Rove. Obama had Axelrod. Look, no one knows Donald Trump better than you. You've been with him for decades, instrumental in him running for president. Without you, he's probably not president. How problematic is that he really doesn't have that confidant, at least at this point right now, in his administration? Or is that an asset for him?
Well, a confidant. I mean, that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be somebody in the Trump entourage who is a keeper of the Trump flame, as it were, someone who knows and has some institutional memory about who was for Trump, who was not for Trump, and where Trump stands on the issues. That seems to have gotten lost. But Bannon, unfortunately, was not fulfilling that job. If he had, he'd gone to bat for example, Sheriff Joe Arpaio, or if he had made the president aware of Susan Rice's illegal antics, perhaps it would be different. Again, I think he really did not represent the constituency he was supposed to be protecting.
And quickly, Roger, before I let you go, the left is doubling down once again on identity politics with the statues and all the stuff that's going on right now. They keep tacking back to this. Steve Bannon made the remark a couple days ago. He was highly criticized for it, but that this could actually benefit Donald Trump when it's all said and done. A lot of people are having a hard time coming to that conclusion right now, but I agree with Bannon on that. I think that this is going to, when it's all said and done and the smoke clears, actually be a asset and a benefit for Donald Trump.
I agree with you because now Black Lives Matter advocates are saying, yes, we do want to take down statues of George Washington. Yes, we do. We did deface a statue of Abraham Lincoln. They've gone too far. It will backlash. Americans are going to resent that. To say the truth, Jimmy, this afternoon I'm going to go out and find a statue of that racist bigot Woodrow Wilson to pull down. He was a big Democrat, as I recall.
Well, FDR, that was another one that's a big crowd pleaser to the left, right? In charge of the internment camps with the Japanese.
Yeah, I mean, look, the idea of where do you stop?
That's what Donald Trump said the other day, and he's absolutely correct on it. Yeah.
He's right about that, in my view, yes. I bet that among many white blue-collar Democrats in Baltimore do not approve of the tearing down statues of our founding fathers like Washington or Lincoln.
I agree. Roger Stone, you can hear the Stone Zone every Saturday at 11:15, author of his newest book, The Making of the President. And Roger, I have to confess, it was kind of funny when we were texting back and forth the other day, just confirming the time for this morning. I was actually watching again on Netflix, Get Me Roger Stone, a great documentary.
I actually watched it last night with some friends. I'd never actually seen it wall to wall, but now I have. I must admit, it's pretty good considering it was made by a bunch of beatnik, pinko, communists, radicals. Not bad at all.
And I do enjoy the scenes in Cleveland because I had some of the best times that I'll never remember with yet in Cleveland. So we will see you next Saturday at 11:15, Roger.
Look forward to it.
Many thanks. Thank you. Roger Stone for the Stone Zone. Again, you can hear the Stone Zone every Saturday at 11:15. 410-467-WBAL. Follow me on Twitter at Jimmy Mathis Show. Email me, jmathis@WBAL.com. Quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Jimmy Mathis Show on WBAL News Radio 1090.